Okay, so before we turn it over to Dan Sarowitz, we can take a few questions from the audience. If you want to come up to the microphone for our panelists. Brooke.
I have a question for Chad and Erika. Just given, Erika, you're speaking on behalf of your membership, and Chad working across a large network of scientists from lots of different universities and stripes, to talk a little bit about the topic today of infrastructure and what allows scientists to participate in the things you're talking about or disallows them to. Can you each say just a couple words about what you find to be, from the scientist perspectives you work with, their motivations or their gripes or their challenges or what they complain about when asking them to engage and participate in these kinds of things?
So time has come up again and again, and that still is, I would say, the single biggest one that we get is that they would, oftentimes if we go back to the same people for a couple of asks, or we're asking them to engage in something that's more than a day, they really struggle to find the time and would like to have more time. But there's also the money. What eventually comes down to money is that they effectively need to buy out some of their time to be able to spend on this in some way. There's some amount of time they can give to it. But also the resources to actually show up physically, is we're often able to bankroll some of their travel expenses, but not even that in its entirety sometimes. But that can be a significant barrier, and some of them will manage to find ways to scrape money together. But it's notable to me that they never have a pot of money to reach into to actually go out and do this work. It's often something that they have to find ways to move money around to be able to do this. It's not straightforward.
Yeah, I would echo time is an issue as well, and also as much as the members express the desire to have the public appreciate science more as often, but I want my colleagues to do that. So it's that sense of who should be doing it. Although if you ask members, almost all of them have done something, whether it's going to their kids' school, or going out for some sort of public day at their university. So I think that there's a lot around making sure that whatever they're doing is as efficacious as possible.
Yeah, actually, I want to share just one more, which falls out much lower than the other two, and tends to be the younger scientists, is simply concerned about where they are in their career track and whether it's appropriate for them to be doing this, or they're going to get themselves in trouble, which tends to be more cultural and has a lot to do with what we've been talking about, the P&T committees. We've had some scientists who have said, I'd really love to, it's just I can't do that yet. I'm a few years away from tenure. So that can be a real impediment sometimes.
Other questions? Before turning over to Dan, I just wanted to highlight some of the things that Jack Schultz says. I think his details on what's going on at the University of Missouri, I think, come closest in my mind to what building a university infrastructure might be to turn a land grant into a hub for public engagement. He particularly highlighted the partnership with journalism, the idea that you have expertise and resources on campus that often you're not already thinking about partnering with, that can help you engage in public engagement. You can think about social scientists and their expertise in helping you plan and evaluate and do research on public engagement. And all these partners are potentially looking to benefit from a partnership with you, because then they have access to greater resources for their students and also for their own research. So I think Jack's details and discussion, I think, was really, really valuable. Yes?
So, Kata Bond, Burroughs Wellcome Fund. Rick, I liked your sort of posing this dichotomy between public information and a real responsibility on the part of our agencies to fulfill some of that, as well as this tension with marketing and the fact that agencies obviously need to make a case of their importance in order to get the resources that they need in order to fund the science. Do you see that there's some appropriate balance that should be striven for here, or that there are new tensions in this area that are driving this whole effort? I certainly see that there's a need for disseminating information, but this impact issue sort of is getting in the middle of this as well. Could you comment further on some of those issues?
Sure. Thanks, Kata. I think the big driver here is the perceived, and I would say at this point, perceived belief from agencies that the basic science message doesn't play anymore, that they have to provide some other measures, and I'm strongly suspecting Dan may weigh in on this in his concluding remarks today, but that the perception is that it's no longer enough to do good science, to tell the public that you're doing great science in whatever form you're doing that, and that somehow there is this linear relationship between how good we talk about our science and how much money we're going to get. And it turns out that up until the Iron Curtain fell, there was no relationship whatsoever. The money kept coming no matter what you did. Since then, and kept coming in big numbers. And since then, it's been all over the place, mostly down, but up and down and all over the place, and seems to have no relationship or bear no relationship whatsoever to the amount or quality of science communication that we're doing. Now, given that, I think what we're seeing is an attempt, particularly as the sequestration kicks in, as budgets fall for science and for basic science in particular. I think we're seeing agencies becoming increasingly afraid that they're going to be zeroed out, and that means that they're going to be increasingly interested in adopting Madison Avenue style ad techniques. I blame admin for this, by the way. And I think that there's a great belief that what works on Madison Avenue will work in selling science. I don't think that's true, and I don't think we have a shred of evidence that that is actually a saleable model for us. And that's why I'm concerned that we've made this wholesale shift into marketing and institutional advancement. I sat through, and I won't tell you which of my number of agencies I've been with, a discussion with a senior appropriator about why it was important in the middle of a falling budget to redo an institutional logo at the cost of several $1 million, because it was easier to use that logo to approach the public. See if that passes the sniff test for you, and I think that's really where that tension is coming out. I think we do not have good guidelines about what constitutes civic responsibility and our decision to what we need to be talking to the public or publics about, or whether the general public is a target we should be approaching anyway, or whether there are, if our primary responsibility is ensuring return on investment to taxpayer dollars, which I think everyone agrees is the case, is the money then best spent trying to tell people in Peoria what you're doing, or is your money best spent trying to tell the people who make decisions about your funding what kind of important job you're doing so that you can continue doing that job for the person in Peoria? And I think we conflate that all the time.
Okay, so we've actually run out of time for questions. We need to turn it over to Dan for concluding thoughts. Sorry about that.
Don't blame me.
We can take one more? Okay.
Go,
all right.
Take one.
Okay, we'll take one more. Sorry, I mean, again, I don't want to close off discussion, but thought we were, okay. Yep.
Hi, Erika Goldman from Compass. It's a follow-up question for Jack. You mentioned the importance of champions and helping bring the stars into alignment around institutional change. I'm wondering two things. Does it matter, or can you speak to where within the institutional structure this champion could or should sit, and from where should the funding come?
I tried to do this kind of thing at Penn State for 25 years, and as a faculty member, could get no traction. Largely because the hierarchy there really didn't even let me talk to someone who could influence resources. So individual faculty members would have a great deal of difficulty doing this kind of thing. The one exception to that is training grants. Training grants are just loved by universities. They necessarily bring people together, and you get kind of a foot in administration's door with that. I mean, think of all the needs you're meeting. Yeah, so it's great. Otherwise, it's got to be sort of mid-management, I think. There may be some faculty in the room, and I'm never going to say we need more administration. I want to get out of here alive, you know. The problem is that other people at about my position in the hierarchy are usually deans who exist to protect turf. I'm in a unique position where I'm against turf. And so I actually have a hard time answering your question with respect to an actual management position for this kind of thing. I'm sorry.
So, Dan, would you like to come up here to make your remarks? Or?